They're punishing Bill Belichick by not allowing him to be considered or named first ballot Hall of Fame coach Bill Belichick for the rest of his life. This is a punishment. With Deflategate, with Spygate, and how he was so curt with the referees, with the officials and the media after games. He didn't give them anything. He didn't give them any stories. And he's not fun-loving. He's just about his business. Do your job. This is what the media has done. They have turned around and said, we're going to get the last laugh. Yo. This week on episode 115 of the X-Factor Sportz Podcast, we're going to get into NBA trade deadline, which is coming next Thursday, February 5th. We're also going to talk about the NFL. We're going to rank these new NFL hires. We're going to get into how good these teams are going to be, what these coaches are going to do. We're going to give them stars. We're going to see what moves need to be made for these teams to be good. But before we get into all that, again, check out the X-Factor Sportz Podcast every Wednesday night on YouTube. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow. You can also catch us anywhere that you can listen to podcasts. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the quick news, and let's see what's going on in the sports world today. So we're going to start with the NFL. All right, there's a lot of NFL quick news we got to dive into. We're going to start with the Super Bowl. Super Bowl is set. We watched the NFC-AFC championship game. If you watched that Denver Patriots game, you saw it go from a clear field. They said it was sunny when they were warming up to a blizzard in a matter of hours. I've never seen a game like that in real time. It was crazy. And the Patriots kicked the field goal and got 3 points, went up 10-7, and that was all she wrote. Nobody else could score. The Patriots get to the Super Bowl. The defense is great. Drake May has went through, after this playoff run is over, he would have went through 4 of the top 5 defenses in the NFL. Say what you want about it. It's impressive. This is a team that won 4 games the last 2 years. They were the bottom of the AFC East, the bottom of the league, arguably the least talented team in football. For Mike Vrabel to turn this thing around so quick and get them to a Super Bowl is incredible. And on the other side, you got the Seattle Seahawks, who, quiet as kept, has been the best team all season, right? I guess I wouldn't say quiet as kept, but they just continue to go about their business. They're probably the most complete team. Sam Darnold played his best game of his life when they needed it the most, going toe-to-toe with Matthew Stafford and winning that game. No turnovers in the playoffs. He's atoned for what he's done last season in Minnesota, what he's done for his career. People written him off. And he comes back to Seattle and dominates throughout this entire season. So congrats to Sam Darnold, vindicating his career, getting the Seattle Seahawks to a Super Bowl rematch with the New England Patriots. Who's going to win? We'll talk about that next week on Super Bowl week. I'll give y'all my predictions, who I think is going to win. Obviously, we got to look at injury reports. We got to see where Sam Darnold's oblique is. We got to see where the Patriots are. All of the factors added up. So that's what next week's episode will be about. All right. With more news in the NFL, Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick gets snubbed from being a first-ballot Hall of Famer, which is garbage, right? How do you keep a 7-8-time Super Bowl winning coach? He won 2 with the New York Giants back in the day when Bill Parcells was the head coach. He was the defensive coordinator, and then he won 6 as a head coach with New England. How do you keep this guy out of the Hall of Fame as a first ballot? I'll tell you why. They're punishing Bill Belichick by not allowing him to be considered or named first ballot Hall of Fame coach Bill Belichick for the rest of his life. This is a punishment. With Deflategate, with Spygate, and how he was so curt with the referees, with the officials and the media after games. He didn't give them anything. He didn't give them any stories. And he's not fun-loving. He's just about his business. Do your job. This is what the media has done. They have turned around and said, we're going to get the last laugh. We are not going to allow you to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And you got to stick with that for the rest of your life. It is the stupidest thing ever. Because everybody knows, if you look at his numbers, he's arguably the greatest coach ever. He's tied with franchises to have the most Super Bowl victories all time. And yes, there's some controversy with Spygate and Deflategate and any other allegations that happen. But he still coached those teams to Super Bowls. He still had 2 separate dynasties under his watch. So when you look at all that, to say he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer is crazy. This is why the media should not have this much power when it comes to voting for coaches or players to get in the Hall of Fame. They didn't play the game, most of them. They get in their feelings. They talk about the players being the most sensitive and the coaches. The media is more sensitive than any of them because they want to get the last laugh. Nobody's going to remember you, Mr. Media person, who Bill Belichick didn't give an interview to or didn't answer your question 20 years ago. Nobody's going to remember you. So the fact that these media members are punishing the great Bill Belichick by not allowing him to be a first ballot Hall of Famer is crazy. They did the same thing to T.O., right? They did the same thing to a lot of other high-profile players. They're doing it right now with Barry Bonds, you can argue. Even though he's got the steroid allegations, he wasn't the nicest guy to the media, so they really don't give a damn about letting him get in the Hall of Fame, let alone his first year eligibility. So that's what's happening to Bill Belichick. He's being punished by the media for being Bill Belichick. And this is their way of getting the last laugh. He's going to get in the Hall of Fame anyway. But now he does not have that distinction as a first ballot Hall of Fame coach. And I think it's garbage. Last but not least in the quick news, we're still in the NFL. We're going to talk about Shedeur Sanders making the Pro Bowl. Now, everybody is up in arms about Shedeur making the Pro Bowl. Obviously, he's an alternate because other players declined to go to the Pro Bowl. Drake May is going to the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes is hurt. Lamar Jackson declined. I believe Josh Allen declined and he's hurt. So where do you go? Yes, I believe that Trevor Lawrence should have been a Pro Bowler. Sure, he had a great season. But they put Shedeur Sanders in. But for me, all these people that have this fake energy about, the Pro Bowl is garbage. They shouldn't let Shedeur Sanders in. How does he deserve to get in? I'm not going to watch this. I'm going to show you guys something. And I apologize to the people listening to the show. You're not going to be able to see this graphic, but this is a graphic of the Pro Bowl viewership over the last decade. It has dropped 60% over the last 10 years. So y'all ain't watching this game anyway. So to have this selective outrage about Shedeur Sanders getting a Pro Bowl nod just because you don't want to see Shedeur Sanders get the Pro Bowl is garbage too, right? A whole bunch of garbage is happening this week, and I'm here to talk about it. But as you can see the numbers, 60% drop over the last decade of viewership for the Pro Bowl. Y'all don't care about the Pro Bowl. I didn't hear anybody up in arms about Mitch Trubisky when he made the Pro Bowl for the Bears, and he had no business in there. But because it's Shedeur Sanders, we got selective outrage about a game that we don't even watch. So miss me with all that. Congratulations, Shedeur Sanders. You get to add that to your resume. You made the Pro Bowl. We know what it is. Hopefully this is a stepping stone. Hopefully you use this weekend to soak up some knowledge, get mentorship. The Manning brothers are always there. There's going to be a lot of other elite quarterbacks there. Use this opportunity to help you grow for next season. All right. So now that we got the quick news out of the way, the X-Factor Sportz Podcast, we're always on every Wednesday night on YouTube, and you can like, share, subscribe. You can also catch all of the audio on all platforms, all 115 episodes. All right. Let's go ahead and dive into the NBA. So we're going to get into what these trades are going to look like, what teams are apt to make moves, what players should get moved, and what players are looking to get out of their current situation. So we're going to go ahead and dive into that. Okay. So the way the NBA is changing now, because we got the second apron, we got salary cap dumps, like teams are trying to make sure they have enough money, assets, all these things. The reason for this shift in the big three and super teams is because organizations, GMs, owners are starting to see that there's a different way to win championships. The NBA is a copycat league. It always ebbs and flows. We're in this new wave now of the Sam Presti, Boston Celtics type of wave, right? What I mean by that, Brad Stevens type of wave. What I mean by that is there's a formula of winning championships now that we don't have a big three or a dynamic duo per se anymore. If you draft homegrown guys, develop them, get a couple of pieces to go around these homegrown guys, and you get a superstar to add to that, a selfless superstar, you can win championships, i.e. the OKC Thunder. Homegrown pieces, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams. Then you add ancillary pieces, veterans around, Isaiah Hartenstein, right? You add these pieces around these guys, and then you get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over there, who, for lack of a better term, fell in their lap and became an elite superstar, but they won a championship with him. Brad Stevens does the same thing. You got homegrown guys, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Pritchard. And now you add these other veteran pieces, Al Horford around them. You know, you add these guys, Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday, and then you have the homegrown guys, in this case, became superstars in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and they won a championship. That's what these teams are about to start doing. And before this trade deadline is over, there are some pieces that are out there that are looking to get traded, but there are some bumps in the road. So we're going to dive into those. Okay. So with teams looking for flexibility, draft capital, with the apron rules that I alluded to earlier, and trying to avoid aging contracts, unfortunately, the top three guys on the list are already injured. Giannis, Ja, Morant, AD. Okay. Rumoring that AD might not even get moved, but I think he will. But all of these guys are injured, but there's a possibility that they can still move before the trade deadline. I believe AD will probably move in the offseason. But with Giannis, with the calf injury, you have teams like the Chicago Bulls who are very interested in Giannis. Now, will they trade him, Milwaukee that is, within the division, let alone in the conference? But the Bulls have pieces, the Bulls have draft capital, and they can clear up some of the books with expiring contracts. So that's why that makes sense contractually for the Bulls to go after Giannis, and I think they will go after Giannis with everything they have. It's just, does Milwaukee want to make the deal? Are they interested in Montes Bazilis? Are they interested in Kobe White? You know, some of those pieces. Then you got the Miami Heat, who may be the perfect fit for Giannis. You can bring home, you can get Andrew Wiggins out of Miami, that contract. You know, Tyler Hero, a Milwaukee kid, he just signed a big contract a year or so ago. You get that money off the books, but you bring in Giannis, pair him up with Bam, Norman Powell. You can get some going there. You know, there's leadership and sustainability there, consistency. He can go down to Miami too, no state tax. All players are happy about that. So there's a lot of places that a guy like Giannis can go. Toronto's in the mix. The Lakers, of course, is always in the mix for superstars. Then you got John Morant. John Morant, with the things that he has going on and off the court, the team chemistry, they might try to move him before the trade deadline. But the injury that he has with the elbow may be something that hinders suitors and make them stand back and wait till the offseason to go after Ja. That's yet to be seen, but I would not be surprised if he's traded before next Thursday. And then we already talked about Anthony Davis. AD, again, with the injuries piling up on top of each other. It seems like every time he comes back, there's a different part of his body that's getting hurt. So teams may be buyer beware on Anthony Davis, and he's the older of the three guys that are looking to get traded. So that is a possibility. That may not happen either. But the teams that have capital and the teams that are looking to make moves, the Washington Wizards, right? They just got Trae Young. They still have cap space. They got picks. So they can try to see if they can get one of these top tier guys. But again, they only need one. Like we talked about at the beginning of the segment. You get one of these guys with these homegrown players that you have on your roster already and get a chemistry and build that to make a push to the playoffs or potentially a championship. Orlando the same way. They got homegrown guys. You pair another guy or star or some high-end quality role players like Andrew Wiggins to pair up with Apollo Banchero or the Wagner Boys, something like that. So the places, let's shift to this. The places that will probably be the best fit for these guys. So we'll start with John Morant. The Heat or the Sacramento Kings may be the best fit for John Morant. Again, the assets that the Miami Heat have, you get a guy that can probably benefit from being in a Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, Alonzo Mourning program, right? They'll straighten him up. What I worry about is off the court, John Morant in Miami. If he's going and doing all this stuff in Memphis, Tennessee, ain't no telling what could happen to this guy in Miami. But the fit is there basketball-wise. Or you send him over to Sacramento, right? There's expiring contracts there. Russell Westbrook's on a minimum. But you make a decision on what you're going to do with a Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan, and then you pair John Morant with one of those guys, right? You still got Sabonis there too. So that's your De'Aaron Fox replacement. John Morant, Sabonis kind of do a two-man thing there. Giannis, again, we talked about the Toronto Raptors and the Lakers being a possible fit for him. The Lakers would have to move a bunch of assets, but they are known to make things happen, especially when it comes to superstar players. Players want to be in LA anyway. Giannis doesn't strike me as that type of a superstar, but if the package is good enough and it's a win-win, Milwaukee is no stranger to trading superstars to Milwaukee or from Milwaukee to LA, if you know your history. So the Raptors is interesting, though. He stay in the Eastern Conference. He is a foreigner, so him going to Canada wouldn't be that big of a deal, I don't think. That's a piece that people don't really touch on. And they have some good athletic guys, too. You got a Brandon Ingram there. I don't think you let go of the guys you drafted that are homegrown, but a guy like a Brandon Ingram could be packaged in a deal with a couple other players. So we'll see how that goes. But Toronto was an interesting one that I saw too. And there's mutual interest there too to go both ways. He's not in the division, i.e. the Bulls or the Pistons. So you move him over to Toronto, and now the Bucks and the Knicks and Brooklyn have to deal, and Boston have to deal with him on a regular. Andrew Wiggins. Again, we talked about this move. This may be a move before the trade deadline, I think more or less than in the summertime. But the Bucks are looking at a guy like this. You got a wing, two-way player. He's still young enough that he is effective. And this finally is your Chris Middleton replacement. You get Kyle Kuzma out of there. I think Andrew Wiggins, as a veteran, a champion, someone who understands their role, you can bring him into that Milwaukee Bucks fold, and they can move on and build after Giannis leaves. The bottom line is this. The NBA has changed over the years. You're not going to get these big blockbuster trades that we're used to getting. They're going to come ever so often. Like the Luka Doncic trade is like a once every blue moon type of trade now. That's almost a one-off. Now it's more these B-level type guys that are stars in their role, guys that are starters or could be starters, but they're on the bench on one franchise. They come to another and they shine, i.e. Norman Powell, right? You're going to see more of those type of trades. I think coming in the next week and in this offseason, there aren't going to be too many big blockbuster trades, I don't think, in this next cycle of free agency. So y'all let me know what y'all think. who is going to be in the business of trading before the week, who's going to come in at the end in an offseason and make a big splash. If you think you know what will be a blockbuster trade, comment below. Let me know what you guys think of that. All right. So again, check out the X-Factor Sportz Podcast every Wednesday night on YouTube. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow the X-Factor Sportz Podcast. We are on every social media platform. We're everywhere you listen to podcasts also. All right. So let's keep it rolling. Episode 115. We're going to get into the NFL. So this week, we had a lot of coaching changes over the last couple of weeks. Some teams have hired their coaches. There were 10 spots available. I'm going to show you guys a list of the top 8 hires this offseason so far and how I ranked them and why I put them where I put them. Okay. So let's go ahead and dive right into that. So here are the top 8 hires. And we're going to start at number 1 with Joe Brady for the Buffalo Bills. Now, this is a no-brainer. I think this is the best hire. As you can see, there are stars to the left of their names or to the right of their names because of how they will fit in their respective franchises, how they will connect offensively, defensively, the type of coaches they are, what they already have, what they're bringing to the table with the quarterback play, and what next season is going to look like. So with that, I got Joe Brady at number 1 for Buffalo. Again, he's familiar with Josh Allen. You know, the innovation on offense. This is going to depend on his hire at the defensive coordinator position because Sean McDermott was a defensive head coach, but the defense was starting to dip over the last couple of years. And like I told y'all last week, I feel like they got to a point where before the season, they almost did him like Phil Jackson in The Last Dance. Like, this is your last year. But they added a caveat. If you don't get us to the Super Bowl, this is your last year. And they fell short. So obviously that's why Sean McDermott left. You probably just want to hear a new voice in this locker room. Joe Brady is familiar with the franchise. He's worked there. I think Josh Allen has a strong relationship with him. So you got a guy who understands the continuity of Buffalo, and it's a new CEO or head coaching voice in the locker room. So I think this is the number 1 hire so far this offseason. They can get to an AFC championship game. If stranger things have happened, they can get to a Super Bowl. There's no telling, but the continuity is still there. There really isn't a fresh start. So that's why I put this at number 1. Number 2, John Harbaugh going to the Giants. Now, we joked about this last week. He was probably mad he signed that contract. He wished he would have waited 24 or 48 hours to see what Buffalo was going to do. But I think this is the second best fit because you bring an adult into the Giants organization. They've been a mess for the last, let's call it 8 years. Even towards the end of Eli Manning's career, they haven't been able to get the coach right. I think this level sets the franchise. You bring in a guy with experience. You bring in a guy that has won before. And you bring in a guy that knows how to structure a football team. Now, say what you want about what he did in Baltimore. They were a consistently good competitive team. And at this point, that's what the New York Giants need. A consistent, competitive, winning football team. And in the NFC East, a division that juggles NFC champions every year, it seems like, to bring in a guy with stability, I think he comes into this division as the best coach already. So that's why I got him at number 2. Jackson Dart, you shore him up. You know, they're going to get all these other guys back, guys that got hurt. So they're going to get Malik Neighbors back from the ACL. The way ACLs heal up now in the rehab, he may be back week 1. They're going to get Scatterboo back. So he's going to have his full allotment of players, and then it's just going to be about building off of that. Okay. Number 3, Todd Monken just got the job today for the Cleveland Browns. Now, I put him at 3 just because the situation. Now, this is going to be tough because Cleveland is not forgiving with coaches, all right? They got a coaching revolving door just like the quarterbacks. For them to let go of a 2-time Coach of the Year candidate, or two-time Coach of the Year winner, one of 13 all time in Kevin Stefanski, lets me know that there was something that philosophically they disagreed on upstairs. And so they just needed a new direction. Was this a Shedeur Sanders thing? I don't know. But bringing in Todd Monken, an offensive guy who's been in this division, he's familiar with the division because he's with the Ravens. He helped Lamar Jackson become an MVP. I'm not saying Shedeur Sanders is going to be an MVP because Todd Monken is there. What I'm saying is you're getting a coach that has been around winning, a winning organization. Now, this is his first year, his first time in a head coaching position. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But I think you're going to see some upgrades and some improvement on the offensive side, which is what they sorely lacked last year. They just got to find the right D coordinator to keep Myles Garrett and that defense happy. Number 4, Jesse Minter, defensive coordinator from the Chargers, comes over to the Ravens. I'm sure that Harbaugh relationship had something to do with it. You know, they wanted to find out more about Jesse Minter. Is he ready to be a head coach? The reason I got them at number 4 is because of where he's going. Coming to Lamar Jackson, coming to an organization of stability, right? Coming to Derrick Henry. The defense was getting better throughout the year. Towards the end of the season, you bring in a guy that shores up the defense, I think they're going to be in good shape. They were able to be stable with a head coach that was not an offensive or defensive guy. He was a special teams guy. But he understood what to have around him organizationally to be successful. I think Jesse Minter does the same. At number 5, Mike McCarthy comes out of the dark to get another head coaching job. The only reason I have him at 5 is because I think his experience trumps the 3 guys that are below him. But I don't know if this isn't great. Like, I wasn't jumping up and down that Mike McCarthy got this job. Because what's he going to change? He's the same guy he was 10 years ago. This is not an upgrade from Mike Tomlin. This is either a lateral move or worse. Because a guy named Mike stepped away from your franchise who was there forever, who got you 1 Super Bowl, to hire a guy named Mike who's been around the NFL forever, who got 1 Super Bowl. So this isn't an upgrade by any stretch. He wants a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers to stay. That ain't a good idea. We saw how that ended in Green Bay. So when he went to Dallas, he went to a situation where you had a grown-up in the locker room in Dak Prescott. So there was stability there. The defense was decent. And they had pieces that could win. I don't know how Mike McCarthy is as a talent evaluator, because that's what they're missing now. They're missing talent on both sides of the ball. You got old defensive players, and you don't have a quarterback that's talented enough to get you where you're trying to go, especially in the AFC North. So I wouldn't say this is a A or B hire. I'd give it a B minus, C plus hire. So that's why he's kind of in the middle of the pack. So I put him there at 5. Number 6, again, we talked about Kevin Stefanski when we talked about Todd Monken with the Browns. Kevin Stefanski going to the Falcons is interesting because, again, I think there were some philosophical differences as to why he left the Browns. And something that probably doesn't get talked about, the way he treated Shedeur Sanders, and to go down to Atlanta, where Deion Sanders is beloved, is going to be very interesting how he's received in Atlanta. Okay? What I mean by that, if they see how you're treating that quarterback, a black quarterback, how are you going to treat, not that it's a race thing, but how you're treating Shedeur Sanders? How are you going to treat Michael Penix? Are you going to give him an opportunity? Are you going to find another quarterback? Right? This team had a nice little streak going. They played hard for their previous coach. So are you going to come in and have that same fight from these players with this new voice? Knowing that something happened up in Cleveland, are you going to be able to come down to Atlanta and win right away? I'm unsure about that. I don't think it goes well personally, but we'll see. Robert Saleh at number 7. The reason I have Robert Saleh at number 7 is not because he's a bad coach. It's the situation that he is in. I think he's going to learn. He learned a lot from being a Jets head coach. As you can see, Aaron Glenn is struggling, a defensive guy who couldn't even get an interception last year. Robert Saleh had a great defense when he was there. The players respected him. But again, there was just a disconnect between him and upstairs. Hopefully, lessons are learned. He comes to Tennessee. Now, Cam Ward, that's going to be something you're going to have to work with on the offensive side. Maybe Robert Saleh going back to San Francisco, being with Kyle Shanahan, he learned some things about what he needs specifically around the offensive side of the ball, i.e. a coordinator that'll help him in Tennessee with Cam Ward. But he will make this team a hard playing. They will play hard. They will work hard. They're going to be in every game because that's just the type of coach Robert Saleh is. I mean, he had a taped up, bandaged, injured defense in San Francisco and dragged them to 13 wins somehow. So, or 12 wins, however many wins they had. So I think he is a good coach. It's just the situation he's in. It's going to be tough sledding. This isn't any better than what he got in New York. And then last but not least, Jeff Hafley, never coached before. He's in the AFC East. That's going to be tough. I don't trust what he did in Green Bay. That defense didn't look good. We don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be. Are you going to start Quinn Ewers? Are you done with Tua Tagovailoa? There's so many what ifs and things up in the air to bring a rookie head coach into that situation, I think isn't going to work out well. So I don't think defense is going to save this. So it'll be very interesting to see what the Miami Dolphins do in this situation. All right. So that's what we got in this coaching cycle. And if you notice something very interesting, there are no black quarterbacks that got hired, let alone if any got interviewed, right? How long does Byron Leftwich have to be a coordinator before somebody gives him an opportunity to interview? He's been an offensive coordinator for so long, a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay. And Phillip Rivers gets a damn interview in Buffalo before Byron Leftwich does. Somebody make that make sense to me. So not only do you see this list of coaches that have gotten jobs, but hopefully in the next coaching cycle, we see some black head coaches that actually earned opportunities, get opportunities to coach. All right. The X-Factor Sportz Podcast. Again, you can always catch us on YouTube every Wednesday night. Like, share, subscribe, and follow. Comment below and let me know what you think about the coaches. Was that list good? You know, should we switch some things around? Do we have it right? Always comment below. And to all my listeners, anywhere on any audio platform, you can catch the X-Factor Sportz Podcast. If you're just now tuning in, we appreciate you. Catch up on all 115 episodes. We are in season 10, episode 7. All right. Before we get up out of here, we're going to dive into the 2-minute warning. And with the 2-minute warning this week, we're going to talk about living your life. And what I mean by living your life is everybody has a story to tell. Okay? What is your story? What are you doing in your life that's interesting? What are you doing in your life to move forward? Get out of the rut that you're stuck in. Or if you're not happy with the way things are going in your situation, tell your story. Be the person that you like to hear other people talk about when they have things going on, right? Don't sit idle watching the world go by, watching the world tell their stories. Go out and make stories of your own. Make memories of your own. Enjoy yourself. There's too many negative things going on in the world. So why sit back and absorb and consume all the negative things that are happening when you have the opportunity to go out and create your own world? Okay. Make yourself happy. Find your own self-happiness within and go out and create things. Create your own stories. Be with friends. Be with family. Create new experiences. That's what this year, this new era should be about. Taking advantage of more opportunities and creating your own stories for your life. Nobody else can do it for you. We got our own stories to tell and our own stories to make. So go out and make yours. All right. Appreciate y'all for tuning in tonight to the X-Factor Sports Podcast, episode 115, season 10, episode 7. We're flying through this thing, but appreciate y'all. If you like the gear, I know y'all probably checking out the new drip. We got a royal blue X-Factor Sports Podcast long sleeve. So the shirts are in. Holler at me if you want your sizes. We got blue, red, gray, and black. Okay, let me know what size you need. We can get that over to you. Those are all short sleeve. So you can scan the QR code at the bottom, or you can go to the X-Factor Sports store or just hit me up direct. Let me know what size you want. We can get that over to you. All right. Again, thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of the X-Factor Sports Podcast. Catch us every week on YouTube. And to my listeners, anywhere you like to listen to X-Factor Sports Podcast. Next week, episode 116, we will have our Super Bowl champion prediction. And we will dive into some more college basketball because we are getting down to the road to March Madness. Rivalry week coming up. Got a lot of college basketball to dive into. Looking forward to seeing y'all next week. This is Jay Mondane of the X-Factor Sports Podcast signing off. Peace.